video, Adobe's video software. So as I mentioned, one of the most important things with video is not so much the technology that pulls it all together, but actually developing the concept of your story. And so that can actually be the thing that changes so much of what you do. So from the Adobe technology perspective, we will be going through Premiere Rush today. And one of the fun things with Premiere Rush is the way that we can coordinate so much material from mobile. So everything that you do in Premiere Rush can 100% be done on the mobile application. It's not just a supplementary app or complementary app to working in Premiere Rush. It is the full application itself. Just from a purely screen real estate point of view, it's good to do these things on the desktop app as well. But certainly, so much can be done inside Premiere Rush on mobile phones, whether that's iOS or Android. The other app that we'll pop into is Premiere Pro. So Premiere Pro it's actually been around for a very long time as an application, Premiere itself. I kind of remember first being introduced to Premiere in the 90s, believe it or not. And it has developed a lot since then, and the quality of what we can get out of it is also extreme too. You can, and people are using Premiere Pro for motion pictures. So you can take it all the way to motion pictures. And of course, we can do so much just on our relatively small scale projects by comparison. Now, next, I just wanted to talk about a few of the shots that actually help us to create our story. So, one of the that's very important when developing a story is to create scenes that move us through from one point of a story to another. And what I mean by that is that you need to set the viewer in a place. They need to understand where we're going, where we are, where we're going, and how we're going to get there. And those are all potentially told by a sequence of different types of camera shots. We know about just the stationary type of thing, and everyone loves to pan around objects and scenery. But sometimes it is about the discipline of taking really great shots. And some of the things that the professional camera operators will talk about are some of these types of shots, such as the push through a scene. So what you're actually doing, and if you are lucky enough to have a dolly is like a camera set on tracks. But often these days, what people will do is have a handheld gimbal that keeps the camera very steady as they move forward through a shot. So what you're trying to do is evoke some sort of context to your video. The next is a pan again to give the scope of what you're actually trying to show in its entirety, because obviously you can't necessarily get an entire scene into one shot. So the pan will help in order to give you some sort of context to what it is that you're trying to show. Tilt tends to be more about people. And in this case, the tilt is taking us from the subject, the speaker up on the stage, to the audience. So in this case, the camera is actually evoking some form of emotion, in that we're trying to give you the context of that speaker, and that there are people actually watching what's going on. So again, the camera is telling this story. This is one of my favorites, the orbit, in that we're initially focusing on an individual, and then we're finding out what that individual is looking at. And again, so we've taken in a very short, what's that, about a couple of seconds of a clip, from focusing on the person, so understanding that we're looking at a person, and then we look out beyond that person and try and get into their mind. So we're all creating a bit of a point of view concept there. The track um, is often trying to find some way to give context to a journey, for example. So you see subjects actually moving through. In this case, this is a pretty simple one. These are people on their way to their seats in an auditorium. But you'll notice this type of shot used quite a bit, again, to tell a story. And one of my favorites is actually the focus pull. So the focus pull is all about telling the audience, when you've got quite a big screen like a motion picture in a movie theater, very often the focus pull is actually the way that the director is actually getting the person viewing this video to see where it is that they're going into. So these are all storytelling techniques in order to move us through the concept of what we're actually building. So next time you have a look at just about any type of movie or video, for example, those are the sorts of things I think it would be very valuable to just take note of to see how they're actually going through all of that. So next up, I'm just going to talk a little bit about Premiere Rush, which is essentially the entry level application for working with video for Adobe. And it's not just entry level in so many different ways. It can create amazing videos directly from it. And I'm just going to make sure that I've got access to my phone while we do this as well, because the phone concept is a great way to actually sorry, I'm just scrabbling around with my computer here. The phone is a great way to start a project in Premiere Rush. So I'm actually going to, and you'll have to excuse if one of my children manages to drop into my sends messages on my phone, because we've got kids at home because of COVID and all sorts of fun things. So, oh, that's a shot of me. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to open up Rush on my phone. And here in the middle there is my Premiere Rush on my mobile phone. And this is a great place to actually create a rough cut of any video if you happen to be starting off your project on your mobile phones. These phones these days are just incredible in that we've got access to 4K video directly on the mobile phone. And you can actually see there that the projects that I have are available both, and you can see it's adding this other project here that is the puppies. We've got some brand new puppies that are only 4.5 weeks old, and so it's provides some really interesting clips. And I guarantee I'll show a little bit of it later, but you can see that all of the projects that I have on my phone are also available on my desktop app. And as I mentioned, this is a great starting point. So if I did want to create a project for you, so I might just click on the little plus here, and I'm going to add some media. So I'll go to my camera roll, and I think the most recent clip might be something that I can pop in there. I can add just stills, or I can add, so there's a still and there's an actual video. And I'll create this project. So this is a great place to actually start your video if you happen to have developed it from a mobile phone, taking your camera shots. Another really cool thing about the camera is that in the capture concept, I mentioned, and you can start to see the surrounds that I have here. I mentioned that we have the capacity to actually use Premiere, the concept of focus pull. And so there's this little option on the phone here for Auto and Pro. And Pro allows us to do some really cool things with things like captures. So, for example, it's set to autofocus at the moment, but if I turn that off, I can actually grab my focus and pull it to various aspects on my phone. So there, if I wanted to, I can focus on the inside of my office, and then while I'm recording, pull to the outside. As you can see, I'm in the Blue Mountains, so we've got some nice views out there, and much rather be outside than inside, but there you go. So I can actually video that with a focus pull directly on my mobile phone, which is very, very cool. So a great way to actually start a project, as I said. Now you'll notice that the sequence is actually adding some content. There was a sort of blue line rolling through, and what that's actually doing, it's syncing this project up to the Creative Cloud. So it's automatically putting this sequence directly into the cloud for me, so that when I do start working in Premiere Rush, the project will actually be there. It takes a little while to actually come in. So what I'll do is create a new project and call this one Griffith. And it's looked at my downloads, which of course is just full of puppies. But in this case, I'm going to have a look at the sample media that we've got in this project. And the sample media is great for just getting an idea of how we go about actually generating our videos directly inside Rush. So unlike Pro, which suggests that you already know how to do everything inside video, Premiere Rush is all about learning it. So what we've got here is a number of different clips that we can add to our project. Now, and I've already popped in that the project name there, and I can now choose what media will actually go into this. I can always add later, or I can grab from my mobile phone, as you've already seen. So I'm going to add this clip first, probably this one second, this one third, and I'm also going to add a soundtrack, which is this MP3 Dreamland. There's some more soundtracks that I can add later in this Rush soundtracks, and you can also add any MP3 that you have rights to, of course, because you'd never actually add something that you don't have rights to inside here as well. So I just click create, and what it will do is actually create a project for me inside Premiere Rush. Now, to get to know Rush is pretty easy. The very basic concepts is that we kind of work through the application on the left down and on the right down, just to get an idea of how it all sort of works. The home is where we start off with all our projects. Edit obviously is the editing space, and then there's share. So sharing is actually creating the end result of all the edits that we make. So let's pop back to edit. The blue plus is adding media. So I can create a title here. I can add additional still images or video images, or even the soundtracks MP3 from this media bin as well. So if I do pop into it, you'll see the existing stuff that I have, or I could go out to my media browser, which is, I can look in my downloads and documents, etc., to add to this process. So again, on the phone, what it does is it goes to the various storage areas on your phone. So that's adding the media content. I can also arm a track for a voiceover. So, if I was recording my, I don't know, my gaming or something like that, I would actually add this as a voiceover, and it will add a track. You can see that it's added a track on my on my timeline there, and then I'd click on the add audio, and away it goes, and would actually record my voice directly onto this track. I won't just at the moment, but you get the idea. Next along, we can actually see again my assets. So these are all the assets that I have that are working through, whether it's the sequence. A sequence is a set of different clips put together. We can have multiple sequences and add them together as well. And then we have our some of our editing functions, because again, we're in the editing phase. These are the basic timeline functions that we have. So looking at the timeline, you can see that we can see because this has been clicked, So when we started to record audio, we could actually see elements of the user interface there pop up, which is things like lock, the mute and unmute tracks, and hide and unhide tracks. So these kind of controls are visible when we're doing that sort of work. The other thing that you might notice is that the soundtrack goes very long across there, and that I really want to see that, so I can scroll across to the end of the track, or I can actually extend my timeline there to see the end of the clip. And as I go over the end of the clip, I can then drag that in, and it snaps into place, which is kind of nice. And then I can extend that out again. Now, by moving this little collar around, it means I can focus in on specific areas of my clip as I'm going along. Okay, so that's duplicate. So I can cut. I can actually clip my individual clips here at any particular time. So I can just click on that little split your clip. It's really good to know that when you do split your clip, and I can then move that on to, there's 4 video tracks and 4 audio tracks. So probably pretty much everything that you need for most of the types of jobs that you do. If you do split that clip and pop it up on another area, you can always delete it, and the initial clip can always be extended back out again. So it's non-destructive editing, not actually breaking anything by using the scissors here, and you can always pop back and forth. And it's kind of handy that it just gives you this little indicator here of time for each of the clips, and we can actually see where the action starts and ends that we're looking at. So if you click and hold for a little time, you can actually see those functions. Okay, so those are the control tracks that we have. So basic controls, we can reorder these clips nice and easily. We can move the audio to a different track, move it around depending on what we're looking for, and we've got some other controls that we'll have a look at shortly. So this is all for creating a great rough cut video for us that we will be able to take a little bit later into Premiere Pro. So easy. The top right hand corner, we can add some titles to our oops, I was a little bit impatient. So titles, these are all, in some case there's some animation titles that we can add. So if I do drag on top, we can see that title, if I move it to the most appropriate places, which is the start of the actual clip, we can see that this is actually an animation title. You can see it animating onto the screen. You go, well, I don't really want it to say main title. So what you can do is pop over here on the title and say edit. And we've got controls over the text. So video. Total control over that, the actual font style, the size, the color. We can choose something that's a little bit more disgusting as long as we actually select our text color. It's always good to actually select. So we've got controls over the look of everything that we have inside these titles. And you've got quite a selection of different titles there. If you did want to go outside of that, you actually see that some of the titles are not necessarily, so we've got this ST more titles. What that is actually Adobe stock titles. So these are titles that are available from Adobe stock, which some are actually paid ones that we can download and use. Some are free. But the sample ones that do come here in Premiere Rush are actually quite useful for the majority of what we need to actually do. So classic credits at the end, etc. web captioning there, etc. So quite a few that are just free and available to us, and we can search for those as well. So adding those sorts of objects to our video, really easy. So titles are just all available from. We have the styles that are available, and we can edit those. Next along, we have some effects that we can apply to our videos. So we don't have a lot of effects because I think funny things that less is more, definitely. Cross dissolve is probably one of the most favored ones, and you can see that the video control from one to the other, nice and quick, not messing around too much. But we do have control over the duration that takes. For example, I can slide that out to just under a second, or I can actually come onto the timeline itself and just make slight adjustments on the timeline depending on what action is actually happening there. So nice and easy. One of the new things that we have here is actually pan and zoom. So if I do bring in some additional media, so I might just grab from my media browser, one of the JPEGs, I think. There's yep, I'll bring in the puppies. So I've got a still photo there. Oh, absolutely gorgeous, but it's kind of overwhelming, and I do want it to be on a separate, maybe over here. Doesn't relate in any way, shape, or form. And you can see that what I can do with this is actually click on pan and zoom on that, and it will actually just move around on my video. But I do need some additional controls for that because it's way too big for this. So what I want to do is actually come in here to my crop and rotate, which also gives us proportions for the actual still image itself. So, and I can move this anywhere onto this video. So it does give me the controls over the actual still image. So what I'd probably use this mostly for is perhaps putting an overlay video of a talking head over the top of some PowerPoints or something like that. But doing this picture-in-picture B-roll is kind of useful. So what that effect though is the pan and zoom concept. And this is early days for this inside Premiere Rush. It's fairly limited, and I'm sure it will get better. Auto rename is something that's absolutely awesome, and I'll show this in another context shortly. But moving through, I also have complete control over some of the presets for coloring. So I do color grading directly here inside Premiere Rush. So I've got some film noir type things that I can apply to my puppies there, or apply some of the other options. But the other terrific thing is that I have total control over the exposure, contrast, etc. highlights, and this is certainly very useful when you're getting video from a whole stack of different sources. People sometimes blow out the backgrounds and things like that, and so you have to start messing around and highlights and exposure and contrast to that if you don't have total control over where things are coming from. And of course, if you filmed it yourself, you may have found that you haven't quite done the right thing. But in these color presets, we can start just making our various shots consistent all the way through. So presets will help us get to where we're going. Editing all the other elements is something that often a lot of people want to do. Okay, so next along, we can see that we can also do some really fun things with speed. So for example, and I'll just get rid of the puppies there for the moment, we can actually change the duration of our clip by doing some just subtle adjustments across the entirety of the clip. So I can the actual speed ramp for this, so I can make this clip go longer on the basis of this clip. So now we can see it's actually speeded up a bit to make it look like the boat's flying nice and fast, or I can actually make it slow by slowing that speed down. Really easy to actually do. So nice and fun. The other option here I have is to ramp the effect so that it speeds up and slows down in a ramped effect over 0.5 of a second. And it's also maintaining the audio, just we're changing the actual speed of the clip. So a lot of easy fixes done very quickly here inside Premiere Rush. Next along is some of the really nice audio options that I have directly inside Premiere Rush. And so this is where sometimes it's exceedingly clever the way that Rush actually works. So if I do have a look at some of these different clips and I expand the so just clicking on the bottom left hand corner, expand audio track, we can see some little symbols appearing in each of the different clips. What the symbols actually are telling us is what type of audio that Premiere Rush has actually picked up. So here, if I do click on the area, we can see that it's actually picked up that this has actually got people speaking automatically. And so there you can see some of the options that we have for the audio. So we can reduce some of the background noise, reduce echo, enhance the actual speech, depending on what person's actually talking. This is where you'd probably break the clip up a little bit if you had different people speaking. And then we can change the actual volume of each part of the clip. So let's just play this through to give you an idea. Now, there's a fair bit of the background audio actually happening there. And so I'm just going to expand this out a little bit as well, because the audio options that I have is actually pretty clever in that I can just click on Auto Duck, and what Auto Duck will do is you can see that it's automatically ducked the audio down when people are actually speaking and brought it back up when there's no people speaking in this clip. So again, if I just expand this out, you can see that it's picked up there's no people talking in this track. So it's actually come in as music. So Auto Duck has figured out for us the most appropriate spots to actually bring up the audio, which is very, very cool. So again, quick and easy ways to adjust. So the last of the options here is actually all of the controls that we have over our actual the positioning of our various elements. Okay, so one thing I did want to do is actually bring in additional documents here. So I'm just going to go through and find, let me see. I do have some Creative Cloud files that I do want to bring in, and let's see, I think it's inside demo files. This is where you should organize things way better than I've done ahead of time, because I've got a couple of, oh, there's some clips there. Let's see, Rush. And I've got a couple of clips that I do want to add to my timeline, because where Rush is terrific is for creating types of quick cuts and things like that. And where Rush sort of needs some help and where we go into Premiere Pro is when we've got clips like this. So we can change audio, and we can change the size and aspect ratio of all the other bits. And I've got let's see, my music going all the way through. And in this case, I want to do something kind of fun with this particular clip, because I've got a person on a green screen who's pretending to surf, and it will look really cool on this boat. So she's just doing a bit of pretending there. In fact, I think I want to stop it around about there. Put her onto my boat. Now, at the moment, she's overlaying the entirety of the boat. So, I do want to actually bring that down a little bit in size, perhaps around about there. And that's kind of the perfect place. Now, what I can't do in Premiere Rush is key out that background. What I can do, and I also can't get rid of this camera shake that's appeared on that bit of video. So I'm actually going to run this entire project into Premiere Pro. So I'm going to open up Premiere Pro, and I've just got it here on my other screen. And of course, it's made itself too big for my screen, so I've got a couple of screens here. So you just have to bear with me just a moment. And one of the options that I have in Premiere Pro is to open up a Premiere Rush project. And of course, it's opened up on the screen. And I might just actually cancel, open it up again, because it's just taking a little while to get that Rush project in. So, and I'll just make sure that it is actually, yeah. So we can see that this project that we're working on here is actually in the cloud and on mobile. So if I do open up Premiere Pro and open up this sequence, we can see there's that sequence in Premiere Pro. And if we're lucky, Premiere Pro will fire up. And here's our Premiere Pro project. And a lot of the controls that Premiere Pro has is very similar to Rush, but we're actually working in a much more seemingly complicated application in Premiere Pro with lots and lots and lots of controls, but it gives us the capability to do some things that we just can't necessarily do in Rush. So I mentioned that here we've got our green screen, and we can see that all of the different changes that we made are available here inside Premiere Pro. And what I want to do is actually do so I'm going to select this clip just in Premiere Pro. I do have a lot more video tracks that I can have available to me in Premiere Pro, but in this case, I want to do a quick couple of little tricks inside Premiere Pro. And one of those is to use the key light concept here in Premiere. Ultra, absolutely fantastic for working with green screen video. So if I double click on Ultra key, it gives me all of the Ultra key controls here on the left hand side in my effect controls. We actually have lots of different workspaces inside Premiere because of the complexity of it. And at the moment, I've got effects because I want to add some effects to clips. But if you're just doing basic editing, you'd click on the editing workspace, for example, which you can define how everything goes. But as I said, I just want to work on the effects. By clicking on the actual clip itself, gives me the effects that I'm looking for. So in this case, I want to add a color key that is using that green as my backdrop. And you can see pretty much straight off, it's done an amazing job. Now, one of the cool things about this is that we have an amazing array of controls that we can apply to this to clean up that matte, etc. Now, I'm reasonably happy with it off the bat, but it's actually really fun to then go through and soften and just mess with some of these controls just to get an idea of how the is actually applying to the edge. So what we're trying to get rid of is kind of the lighting of that green from the background. And that's actually something that we can do with Ultra Key. It's got lots and lots of controls that we can apply to this. Now you can see also that I've still got edges to my video. So the next thing that I want to apply to this clip is a crop. So I can just type in crop into my effects, and again double click, and it applies a crop to this, and we can then just use the crop concept to crop in from the left and crop in from the right. And again, you can actually see a little bit of the edge of that that clip appearing. And one of the other really fun things is that when we do crop, we can apply keyframes to any particular point along this clip, so that if I think this is the case in this particular clip, the hands do go outside that crop area. At one stage they do pop outside. Then we can actually keyframe each of the crops to move in and out of that crop if we haven't got it exactly right. So that itself is one of the really cool things about the way that Premiere Pro actually works. We've got so many controls and so much more effects that we can actually apply. Mention that here we have another problem that we have in our video, in that we've got a nice shot of and we'd probably do this picture in picture or something like that to tell part of the story that we're looking for, but it's moving around. And what Premiere Pro gives us is something called warp stabilizer to fix problems like this. And if I double click on the clip, it will automatically start the process of analyzing this clip and then stabilizing it, adding a whole sequence of again various changes to the clip itself. And if I just move that along, you can see that it's actually changed the clip a little bit to stabilize it, but it's actually moving around a little bit. So if I just play that, so if that wasn't the option that I'm looking for, I can pop into the stabilization options and say, actually, I don't want smooth motion. I want no motion in my clip. And again, I can just pop back into the clip. And what Premiere Pro has done for me is automatically gone through and made all those adjustments for me, which is really cool. And one of the things that we do have to often do today to our videos is have, so again, that's warp stabilizers, just awesome. And if you do have a problem that you're not sure how to fix, sometimes, it's just a matter of Googling it and coming up with the name of the effect that you're looking for, because there are so many different audio and video effects that are directly here inside Premiere Pro. If I turn that off, for instance, video effects, there's hundreds of them. So you do kind of have to know what the name is in order to type that in there. But you find out which one will create the best effect for you, and then apply it to the videos. So the last thing that I just wanted to quickly show, and this is a sample project that I had previously. Hopefully it's got, so this has got what we're working here is a 16:9 sequence, and the problem that we often have in creating our various outputs is that we're not necessarily just limiting ourselves to 16:9, or a television commercial. We might be placing this onto TikTok, I don't know, we could put this onto Instagram. So we've got a bunch of different outputs that we might actually want to apply. And so with this entire sequence selected, what I can do is just right click on it and create an auto reframe sequence for our entire sequence. And what auto reframe will give me the option for is square, vertical, horizontal and different options there. So for example, if I just go square, for instance, it will actually automatically move. This is magical. It'll actually move the camera shots around based on algorithms that are figuring out what's the main point of the shots. So it's actually automatically changing the position. So if I have a look at the reframe offset here, I can actually see the video moving around in space. You can see, so if I just zoom out a little bit, you can actually see the video shifting around inside that original 16 by 9 frame to fit to the square concept. So that's auto reframe on an entire sequence. Okay, I've been talking way too much, and I think a few points that he'd like to show you in some of the things that will make job easier when you're working in video clips, especially if you're working with 4K video. So I'll hand over to you, Brian. Hopefully you're still there.
Yes, thank you. And I may just quickly finish this session today about the video workflow, right? And we've got Steve Nichols show us how simple it was to create and edit video using Premiere Rush. And the fact that it's got mobile, it's got desktop is wonderful, right? And maybe that's all you ever need. You could use Premiere Rush to create the video and share the video out as MP4 or published to YouTube. So that's good. It works on its own. But if you want to take it to the next level, Premiere Rush can be taken onto Premiere Pro, and you could expand it from there. Right? And Steve showed us the benefit of using Premiere Pro because there are additional controls that you could do as well. Now, if you do use Premiere Pro, and let me just share my screen with you, right? And the beauty of Premiere is that it's very many can have so many features there, right? And very often you use Premiere Pro to create complex projects there. They might even use Premiere Pro to edit high resolution video footage like 4Ks as well. Now here it is, the challenge. Working with 4K footage in general is very, very high resolution, and you better have lots of RAM on your machine to render the 4K footage, right? Now, if you are working on a desktop solution, so that should be not a problem. You could have 64 gigabytes of RAM if you want to, right? But you might be working on your laptop, right? Your laptop might have only got 8 gig of RAM or so, and working on 4K could be a challenge. This is where Premiere Pro allow you to work in low-res proxies there. What low-res proxy is that you could handle all these high-resolution footage as low-resolution proxies, right? And you can even have the 4K sit in a separate hard drive, whereas because your laptop might have limited hard disk space, right? The Premiere Pro is able to say, leave the 4Res at a separate hard drive, but have the low-res proxy out on your local drive. In this case, you'll be just working locally or with this low-resolution proxy. It's good enough for because they're low-res. You could do it in your 8 gig of RAM laptop and do some rendering if you want to see some effects, see how it goes. And when you are done, Premiere Pro allows you to replace the proxy with the high res, and you do the final render. So this is a great workflow if you are working or cutting your video in low spec laptop, right? Because editing in low res is much easier. on your computer, easier on your RAM, right? And by the time when you are done with all your editing, you could leave your laptop, have your lunch or dinner, or maybe even leave it, watch a movie, go and do something else, while Premiere Pro replaced the low-res proxy with the high-res and output in high-res again, right? So that is something that Premiere Pro allows you to do. The other workflow that could be quite handy is that if you work in a team as well, let's say you work in a project, right, and you work in with a group of students together, literally you can have one person doing the creating the low-res proxies, and to share across the team. You could put the low-res proxy in the CC library or CC storage. Right? Put it in the CC storage or CC libraries and share the low-res proxy with your team member. Because it's low-res, it's easier to share across the cloud. The beauty is that Premiere Pro also work in this what we call team projects as well. With the team project, your editing happens in the cloud. So you can have multiple people editing the project, all working on the low-res proxies. And when it's all done, again, you can have the person in charge replace.
And it's frozen. So yeah, away you go, Brian. Sorry.
Here is the Premiere Pro, right? And when you open it as a team project, it open, maybe just in case, I don't know whether that was captured previously, right? So maybe I'll just go back to home screen, just in case, right? So this is where you open a team project versus to open an ordinary project. If you open a project, clicking this home screen, it opens a local project, your C drive, right? If you open the team project, it lets you open the project that's sitting in the cloud. But once it's open, it pretty much looks similar to a desktop project, except that the team project, here you see a few people here working on this project, because this is where you can invite people to work on your project. So I've invited John, Matt, and Steve onto this project. So what does that mean? That means all of them will be able to open the same project in Premiere Pro at the same time. Right. Now, once it's open, that means everything can be done before. Now, I mentioned about that 4K footage is high resolution. The beauty is that if you have any footage, right, you can, so if you have any footage there, you can go to the footage and it will let you render it into 4K. So all you need to do is go, maybe just go here, right? And you could right click and you select proxy, and you would be able to say create a low-res proxy, right? And you could do it one by one, one footage at one time, or you can do it in bulk. So the entire 4K footage sitting in this particular folder, render it as low-res. Right? And when you render it as low-res, let me just expand this window a little bit. So I'm going to hit the maximize button. So literally, you can actually see that this footage is on my C drive. 4K is in C drive, but the proxy is in the Creative Cloud folder. And the proxy is the low-res version. So I have a low-res version in the cloud, high-res version in the hard drive, basically, right? And so in this video, I have, so basically, if I just play it quickly, so you can see that there's a little effects there, a little transition, etc., right? Now, just want to show you the benefit of, you see that on my computer, it played perfectly. I could play it, and if I keep play, it played quite well, right? Play very well, even 4K footage. The reason why it plays so well is because it is displaying the low-res version. How about I maximize this window and show you in 100%, right? So you see that it's now displayed in very high res, because that, as I said before, I could work with low res, but then when I'm done, I could render it in high resolution. even though it started with low res version, but I render it, and then I could now still display as a high resolution footage as well. This is really the beauty about how you work with low. Let me just go to fit. Right, if you are working on a low spec machine, this is one way to solve the problem. Okay, all right. And now let me just kind of show you. I think yeah, just to what should I do here, right? Maybe I'll just show you one additional thing that is quite handy when it comes to Premiere Pro, and because it is we are working in a team environment, right? Let's just say that I'm going to make some change. Like here, I've got, let me just see, how about this, right? So I've got this logo, which I can turn on, turn off, right? And let's just say I want this logo to be somewhere else. So I could just select this logo, maybe just change the position a little bit, right? So maybe just don't know why do I want to change it here, right? Let's just say I want to change it here. Right. Now, remember we are working in a team. You saw how I make some changes there. So it's now showing me green red line because I've made some changes there, right? Because I work in a team. Let's just say I am doing this sort of editing or whatnot, right? And if I make some change, what will happen to the people whom I share this project with, right? Because they open the same project, but I've made some changes there. Team project allow me to publish my change by simply go to share my project. When you click share my project, I'm going to put some comment. I say logo move to another position, right? I click OK. And what does that mean? That means that this change is now pushed to Matt, John, and Steve, and they will receive a notification, and the notification will tell them there are some changes there. Do they want to get the change? And if they get the latest change, then the project will be updated on their machine as well, right? So this is really how, in a team environment, if you say you're working on a student project with a couple of a classmate together, this is how you could work together. You make some changes, you publish the change, or if your classmate makes some changes there, you get notification as well. And if you click OK, you'll get the latest change. Okay, all right. Now, finally, I just want to show you that this team project by nature, it is we saved all the versions there. So it means that you don't even have to worry about version control, because all of those is, if I just maximize this windows again, this project, so this is the project that we are looking at, right? So this project, we have a timeline. So basically, we keep track of all the changes that you have done with this project as well. So, another benefit of doing this team project is that suddenly you have the version control. You have the entire project you can always kind of like roll back to any particular versions that you want to as well, because we capture all these versions there. Okay, all right. I think time is really 12:59 now. I think I better stop the screen sharing and just see if there's anything any questions that we need to address. So, and let me stop the screen sharing.